All right, well, welcome everyone. I am Frank Anello, the Executive Director and co-founder of Project Worthmore, who works with refugees in the Denver metro area. And we are excited to have a conversation today with Jessica and Paco as they've created this really beautiful film that we just witnessed. And today we're just going to have a discussion really on like what motivated them to do this film about Moo. And so really excited to have this conversation. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Hello,
Thank you,
everybody.
Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Yeah, so let's just start in regards to Moo. Like, how did you meet Moo, and where did the inspiration come from to create this film?
Yeah. So, well, the way we met Moo actually was back in 2008. We were traveling in northern Thailand, reaching up around the border, and we ended up going into this village, this Cayenne village, and we are as documentary filmmakers, we had just finished one in India. It was kind of our holiday, and we were basically decompressing, and it was just getting a little time to relax and to get to know that area. And I came around the corner and I heard a young woman speaking a little English, so I started approaching her, and I think she saw Paco behind me and saw that she immediately spoke Spanish to him and just said a couple of words like "Hola guapo," and I just started a conversation with her that I don't know, she's very easy to get along with, as you can probably imagine. And next thing I know, we're having lunch at her family house, and we're being invited to stay over because there's a wedding the next day. And yeah, we actually I didn't know anything about this tribe actually beforehand. Paco did, and that's kind of why we ended up there. But at the wedding the next day, all the students from the refugee camp came down to celebrate. And so we started getting a crash course on everything that was happening and why they left Burma. They've been living in these camps for almost 2 decades, and getting a full story very quickly that really inspired us and kind of motivated us. I mean, definitely me personally as an Asian American, to see what's going to happen here. And if really 10,000 people a year come from these camps and end up in America, what's that going to look like with what I myself know as a child of immigrants, and as what was going on in this America at that time and since. So yeah, it was really getting to know and meet Moo, her family, who were very welcoming, and in the end, Moo was quite the inspiration behind making the film.
Well, and most of all, also, the moment we were there is when the UN planted the possibility of the resettlement for all these people. So it was a huge debate within the refugee camp and the Cayenne tribe, because it was a decision that anyone they should make on their own. So that was splitting families, and people were taking decisions like splitting, like even couples. No, that so we thought there was a big potential for a good story there, and we decided to come a few months after, and then from there we went.
Yeah, and that was, I believe, what, 2008 when this began?
That was the end of 2008. Yeah. It was December or until February of 2009, something like
that. And for me, I think that the film, you did an excellent job of portraying like what it was like on that side and what they've gone through and how they've had to leave their family and how they've come to the United States. But I'm curious on like, how did you decide, how were you able to capture all of that footage when this process is such a long process for a refugee from getting their UN card to then arriving in the United States?
Well, the thing is that we weren't planning that from the beginning, because of course you're following the story as it unfolds, and we did that with time gaps in between. I mean, we spent a few months at the Thai-Burma border, and then we went back to Europe to do other work. And then on that time, Moo was resettled to the United States. So when we retook the story there, she was already there for a year. So it was like we were kind of following the thing. I mean, really, it wasn't like anything that we planned beforehand, because we didn't know where Mu was going to be resettled, when, or I mean, it was like a big question mark on all that. So we kind of were following the story as it unfolded.
Got it. And the other thing too that I, doing this work for the last 10 or 11 years here in Denver, it's something that I thought has been very important for someone to do a film like this. It's something that I've always wanted to create, but the difficulties of trying to do something like that. And I think that you did a very accurate portrayal of the journey, the sacrifices that Mu had to make to leave her family, to leave her culture, from cutting the brace, the neck thing off of her, and the relationship that she had with her mom. So there were so many intimate details and relationships that you were able to help all of us understand. And then the return, like when she arrived in Bowling Green and how quickly she acclimated, and but how difficult it was as well. And I think the scene that you had when she's visiting the new arrival family, the single mom with the 5 kids, that's exactly what Mu went through when she arrived there, and every single family went through. So I think that the fact that you showed that piece about the airline tickets, the meatpacking industry, that's just not Bowling Green. That's really all over our country. And how quickly she became a part of her community. And so can you talk a little bit about the time that was spent in Bowling Green, kind of tracking her when you went there a year later?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, Frank. As with your work with refugees, you understand that, the arrival, everybody's just working to get there, and they just, all they can, they don't have even enough preparation. Cultural orientation is very basic, and you can't imagine coming from the mountains, the hillside mountains, to a town, a city. So when we got there, it was just also us kind of catching up and figuring out what happened with Mu over the year that she was there. We didn't have the funds to actually be there earlier, and we had done a crowdfunding to finally get there on a visit back to California. And then so when we got there, we, kind of quickly caught up with where she was. She had already kind of gone through the shell shock, let's say, of, arriving and then figuring everything out, figuring out the system, what you need. At that time, it was already like a 90-day limit to assistance. So it was all very much, placed on, okay, gotta start working. Okay, most of the people don't speak English. Anyways, they have to figure it out because they're not gonna have financial assistance. And so for Mu's situation, she did have a handle on languages before she finally resettled in the US. And she was very smart. She knew that her number one priority was to stay with her son. She knew that she couldn't be working in a chicken factory over the night shift. So she found a need. And for where she was resettled, there was probably about almost 1,000 Karenni people also resettled from the refugee villages at the border. So she goes to the clinic and she tells them, look, I can help you. I can help you with the translation, not only Karenni. There were no other Kayan people from her tribe, but she can speak Karenni, Chin, and other languages from Burma. So she actually was a vital piece for that health clinic. And so, it was really about us understanding quickly, obviously where she was now, but what she had gone through and how to portray that after the fact. And yeah, we, with Mu, she's definitely integrated in her community and knew, okay, there's going to actually be a new family arriving, at a certain date. And it's just in her nature that she would go over and start talking to her and welcome her. So we tagged along and we filmed that. And it definitely was a moment that we could catch what is somebody actually probably experiencing those first 36 hours upon arrival.
Yeah, and like I said, I keep repeating it. You did such an accurate job of that, and the fact that you did catch Mu a year later, it goes to show you that she went through that same struggle at the beginning, And here she is a year later, using her language skills to help her community. And then there are people like Moo really all over the United States. There are people like Moo within the Denver community that, work for me at Project Worthmore. Also a Karenni individual named April, who's our office manager, who came here, had a skill set, and used it. And it's really great to see how her and her son sacrificed leaving their family to come and help their community in a completely foreign part of the world, right? Like from the jungle of that opening scene where she's walking through the jungle pregnant, to here you are years later, she's sitting being a translator in a medical setting. So it's a really beautiful story of perseverance, determination, and sacrifice that I think that you did an excellent job on. And I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about like where Moo is at this time, like years later. Can you give us an update on how Moo's doing?
Yeah, she did end up moving to Iowa. And there she is with her partner and the two boys. And now they have actually, a farm, pigs and chickens, and she's creating quite a space there. So yeah, she's in outside of Des Moines, where her plan is actually to create a space where she can invite people maybe once every 5 years and have a festival of people and their customs and traditions. So that's her next dream. But at the moment, as you can see, there she is with John, is now 13, and Bobby. Yeah, so she's doing great.
That's great. So I know we only have a couple minutes left. So is there anything additional that you'd like to share that it's important, you think, for people who watch this film to know about Moo and just the sacrifices? And I can kind of end as well on just a quick story on my end of just the benefits that Moo and people like her bring to our communities that you learned.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you can see with Moo, she's definitely just a go-getter and understands like where she's at and how she can help her community, I think. But besides that, I think she provides a lot of us a deep inspiration, as she has a very universal story in terms of facing struggles and the resilience that she has within her. I feel like she can inspire a lot of people. But one of our main intentions too is, especially in the last, previous 4 years, it's just really to give people an idea that it's not an easy path to take. And there's obviously a reason why someone would choose this path, leave everything behind to come to a place that they don't know, and to really, contribute and not even like come on a free ride, but have to pay it back, come with debt. That's right. And then actually have to learn, not only language, but whole, custom traditions, ways.
What does debt mean, right? Like, what does even debt mean, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we hope that we're able to, through her story, be able to inspire some people and really kind of also maybe think about who's in your community and reach out.
That's right, and that's great. And just one story here. The very first family that I worked with back in August of 2009, very similar situation to Moo, arrived here, fled from Burma refugee camp, and here we are 10 years later. She is a citizen. She's a business owner. She's a homeowner. She speaks English fluently. There are so many successes, just like Moo, that are scattered across this entire country. And thank you for showing this, creating this film, and showing our community that refugees bring so much more than they actually take. Just thank you for doing an excellent job of capturing that through Moo's story.
Thank you. And thank you, Frank, for the work you're doing in Colorado. It's great to hear that Colorado refugees are really supported.
Absolutely. Thank you.